Okay, we're going to call to order the Narragansett Town Council work session agenda. Today is Thursday, April 11th, 2024. This work session is a budget work session for the town of Narragansett fiscal year 2025 budget with the staff to discuss the following budgets: Parks and Recreation, Beach Fund, Middlebridge, Kinney Bungalow, Public Works, Road Bond Fund, Galilee Landing, Sunset Farms, Finance, General Revenue, Debt Service, Pension, and OPEB. Okay, at this time I'll turn it over to Parks and Rec Director.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to speak about the Parks and Recreation budget. I appreciate all that the council does and your time and efforts in this matter. I also like to thank my staff for all of their hard work and the commitment and support of the town manager and everybody involved. So the budget, and as you know, I have a few budgets. So admin, 1810, relatively all of the fund information is the same in previous years, with the exception of some changes with the admin employment information, so full-time wages and things like that that have increased. With the 1820 budget, which is parks maintenance, as you see, there is not even a change at all, a 0.4% increase. So we reviewed all of our line items, made adjustments where we felt were needed, but pretty much everything overall is the same. Moving on to recreation. As you see, we have a slight increase in the recreation budget, 10.8%. The main reason for these increases is due to the cost of our camp performers, an increase in costs for transportation, also just overall increases for field trips and the special programming that we have for our summer camp individuals. So again, these are needed increases just because things are costing more to do. Tyler Hoxie is with me here if anybody has any particular questions regarding his budget.
Do any of the council members have questions?
I actually have one question with regard to the General Parks and Rec Administration. I just was curious, the gas and I guess lubrication line item 50401 has a 733% increase. So I just was curious about that.
So we have the van. That's our only transportation at this point. So right now, I'm not exactly sure of our cost increases at this level. However, I do know that it is our only work vehicle that we have now, and the need to use it on a more regular basis is prevalent. And then also the need for the repairs that go into it. That is handled by our Department of Public Works.
So your intent is to use it more frequently than you have in the past? Okay,
yes, ma'am.
Got it. Thank you.
Any other questions for the council?
I have one.
Sure.
The programs, I guess, those went up? Field trips and things, so are those, any of the patrons, is that all free of charge to residents, or don't they pay a fee for joining?
They do, yep, they do pay a fee, and then, of course, we have to pay the instructor.
Right.
So, for example, we introduced the new pickleball classes for middle school age children. So again, there's a small fee for registering for those classes, and then of course we have to pay for the instructors to teach those classes.
Yeah, does the fee cover the whole course? Is that why the difference is, or?
It does not.
About what is it? Like what percentage of on a lot of them, half? Or is it because we want to, kind of a reduced rate? Is it prohibitive to cover the cost, or is it?
Well, we want to encourage people to attend these classes and programs and not have the fee be too high. Yeah. But Tyler, would you like to answer a little bit more?
The fees we charge cover. Do you want to give me the? I don't need the
Thank you. Sorry.
I think I speak loud enough. So the fees we do charge, they do cover 100% of the programs. The problem is when we pay out these instructors, it's going to show as negative, so there's no balancing in our actual budget. But yeah, so we charge for pickleball, to be exact, it's $112 per person. We get 20%, the club gets 80%. That's typically how we do it with most of our programs. But when we try and add more programs, then obviously we're just paying out more and more because we're not certified or specialized in those fields.
Right, okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, I will move along to the beach fund.
Let's see. Oh, I'm sorry. Let's just, let's see, 1820, 1830, and then we have the community center would be next, 1840.
Okay.
So as you see, again, minimal increases, and most of the increase has to do with the benefits of the full-time employee wages and benefit packages. And of course, the cost of electricity. Are there any questions? All right, moving on. We can talk briefly about our capital budget. So in Parks Capital 1, we always request an allotment for trees and also ornamental grass and things that we need throughout the year. That includes the purchase of the Christmas tree. Vehicle replacement, we are not asking for any vehicles this year in hopes to have a new vehicle ordered for the fiscal year 25-26. And then hopefully continuing on with the vehicle replacement plan that we have in place. Of course, budget permitting. Our lighting replacement, we have been speaking about potentially moving or transitioning to LED lighting at our parks. However, we're still doing more research on that because we're not sure that the cost is something that the town can really take on at this point. Also, our Musco lighting is warrantied, so we may decide to stay with our Musco lighting situation and then possibly continue more discussion about LED conversion, what rebates we may be able to get, and if it is cost effective for the town. Court resurfacing. Right now, we have no information about the DEM grants. We are still waiting on those results. Apparently, they are still being reviewed. However, we will be moving forward with the resurfacing as we have been and filling the cracks and making repairs to our courts. As you know, we're waiting to hear about the pickleball grant. If we do not get that grant, we will be making repairs to the Clark Road courts and the other courts that are listed here in this particular project. Again, we are still waiting on the grant also for the Cristofaro Playground Rehabilitation Project. If we do not obtain funds for that project, we will be replacing play structures at Cristofaro and then reevaluating all of our parks at that point because we have been spending a lot of money replacing aging playground structures. And basically, I'd like to do an audit to see where we're at and then hopefully determine what steps we need to take next. Equipment replacement, as you know, during the recent winter storms, we had to rent a mini skid to help us with our recovery efforts. So for fiscal year 24-25, we do hope to purchase a mini skid with a hopper bucket for our parks maintenance team instead of having to rent that piece of equipment. The enclosed trailers that we had originally hoped to purchase this year, we're going to push those down the road a little bit to 25-26. Fence replacement. As you know, Sprague Park is almost complete in its entirety with all new fencing. After that project is completed, we are going to move on to the George C. Park fence as well as the tennis court fence. As you know, a couple of the trees have come down over the last couple of years. They've hit the fence, so we've got some dents in the fence. Nothing that's a safety concern, but that fence is probably, I would say, 40 to 50 years old
Yeah.
and in need of replacement. Next is building renovations for parks. So at Spring Park, we have an old shed next to the field. We've been talking about getting that replaced. Unfortunately, there is an asbestos issue that engineering is working on, so I'm not exactly sure how that is going to play out. It does need to be replaced, but I have to wait and find out exactly what's going to happen with this asbestos and if it can be removed or what the plan would be going forward. After that, the back stairs at Cristofaro Concession, those are in need of replacement, as well as some doors. So our general maintenance of those exterior outlying buildings. Camp renovations, again, I'm hoping to replace the remaining old windows in the recreation building and also continue discussion, active discussion regarding HVAC in that building and making it a year-round venue. And lastly, the Parks Maintenance Shop. I'm not sure if anybody has gone by there yet, but I'm hoping to begin discussion regarding repairs and a possible addition to that building. That group is running out of space, has a lot of pieces of equipment, and that building has kind of been patched together and kind of additions have been made over the years, and basically they're outgrowing that particular space. So I hope to, again, start discussion about that and budget for a project, a renovation project, over 2, if not 3 fiscal years. Moving on to the beach. Now, of course, we've been speaking a lot about the beach over the past year and a half, especially in light of the Beach Enterprise Fund policy. So again, the numbers are here. If anybody has any questions. Moving on to beach capital. Beach capital number 1, other improvements. Soon I'll be doing a bid for additional ADA wheelchairs for the beach. We need at least 2 more, as well as the blue beach access mats, so our handicapped and disabled people can access the beach more safely. We hope to install a swing gate at the west lot as well. Right now, we just have a chain up there, and oftentimes people don't see that and accidentally run it over. So we'd like to get that particular area secured. And then again, eventually, the black fence along the south lot that we install each year, that fence is due for replacement. Of course, we have our annual sand replenishment fund as well. And as you know, the North Beach Clubhouse, I've talked about that quite a bit. The floor will need to be replaced in that building. And of course, you know my hopes to have a deck roof built in the near future. And working with the engineering department, hopefully that bid will be going out in the next 2 weeks. Storm reserve, again, we spoke at length about this already. And then I've also discussed as well improvements to the South Pavilion. So I hope to resume talks about that and find out exactly what we should do with the lockers. Should we keep them? Should we get more and make them smaller? Again, we need a new office space for the sales office. I'd like a police substation and also storage for our equipment and gators, so we're not renting containers every year. Moving on to Middlebridge.
Can I just ask a question?
Yes, ma'am.
On beach number 1, the access mats and wheelchairs, are they going to be available at both the north and south pavilions?
Correct. Right now,
Okay.
we have 3 at each location. We had 4 and 3, but one has been broken and apparently can't be repaired. So we're going to use that for parts. So my hope is to have at least 5 at each location. What we do each day is we'll pull them out of the locker area or the North Pavilion area, and we'll set them up on the pavilion so they're readily available so everybody can see them. And then we have the policy of people in need, we'll sign them out, providing their driver's license and a good phone number so they could be reached, especially if we haven't gotten the chair back by close of business.
Thank you.
Moving on to Middlebridge. So Middlebridge Enterprise Fund. One thing I'd like to mention, just about the grounds maintenance and also the building repairs. So as you know, our plan is to kind of button up the exterior of the yellow building and the other buildings with the help of Keith Lescarbeau and Abcor. But I'd also like to get some tables and benches down in that area once that project is complete and really kind of beautify it a little bit more. So again, for our general public use of everybody, because it really is a pretty spot down there. In the capital end of Middlebridge, we've got the ground maintenance, which I just discussed a little bit. Also, the inclusion of bike racks. Again, annual building maintenance and repairs. Moving on to Kinney Bungalow. Again, no real changes with this particular budget, except, of course, on the wage end of things due to normal increases that have to be made contractually. And then, of course, the increase in costs for electricity. We are still hoping to purchase the Chivalry chairs, just like the towers did as well, and have those columns in the front of the building examined by Keith Lescarbeau to determine if they have a little more life left in them or if they need to be replaced sooner than later. And ladies and gentlemen, I think that's it for me. If anybody has any additional questions.
No, I have whatever. I just have one more on Middlebridge. I know the road was moved, the driveway was moved to leave a little more room in that, by where the docks are. What's the plan for that? Just to keep grass in there? I think they were talking about some picnic tables or whatever.
Sure.
Is that what's going to happen there?
Sure. So the contractor had finished the roadway last year, but of course he ran out of time and due to the weather. So now the old driveway, which is right near where the bait shop building is, he is going to tear up all of that macadam and stone. Okay, he's going to tear it all up. He's going to regrade that area. And then Wenley Ferguson from Save the Bay has been contracted to plant different kinds of salt-tolerant grasses and plants in that area. So basically, that's all hopefully going to be lush and green over the next couple of years. And there will also be a walkway that's going to skirt the 4 cottages right there. So if people cross over from 94, they'll be able to walk along the sidewalk. But again, all of that area where the driveway is now, that's all going to be turned into green vegetation.
Yeah, and then there's no public parking on that side though, right? It's just basically marina use and that kind of stuff?
Well, no. So now that's going to be open to the public. So Mr. Considine has been awarded the contract with a stipulation regarding parking, which you will see at next Monday's meeting.
On that side, okay.
Right. So he will have use of the 94 property, 94 Middlebridge. 95 Middlebridge will be open to the public for use by URI as well, and also the Middlebridge Marina patrons.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions?
And how
Counselor
many
Kopek?
parking spaces is that at 95?
Correct. So having just left the Emergency Land Trust meeting, the proposal that you'll see Monday night is that Mr. Considine will be allotted 50 parking spots at the 95 Middlebridge sign. And I should also say that there are 134 parking spots that will be designated in that area. So plenty of parking, I believe, for the general public, marine patrons. The URI crew girls are there in the morning and leave by 9 o'clock. Also, they don't crew in the summertime, so I believed that 50 was a reasonable amount of spaces for the kayak, or I'm sorry, the paddle sports operation.
All righty, good. Thank you.
One more question on that. So the parking spaces that will be available for public use, will there be a launch fee that will need to be paid to Mr. Cassadine or?
There
none?
will not be.
Perfect, thank
Open
you.
to the public.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Okay, moving along.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Next. Next, we will be hearing from our Public Works Director, Mr. Stephen Dano. Welcome.
Good evening.
Maybe Steve.
Thank you for having me. Before I talk about the budget, I just want to let you know that I think you've noticed we've done a lot of work over the last 2 years. We've spent a lot of money, but we got a lot of work done. And we've done it efficiently. So I just wanted to note that.
Thank you.
This budget is pretty quick because we're pretty much staying even with what we're doing. We'll start off with the admin, Public Works admin. That's just salary stuff, nothing special, no special equipment or anything like that. The next one is recycling. We just merged the position with South Kingstown, and we have the shared amount in there. Any other expenditures is all in the agreement that we've worked out on how to deal with that, so that everything is accounted for, and we cover everything for Narragansett. So that, I believe, is a good venture that we've done with South Kingstown, and I think it's going to streamline a lot of what we do. Moving forward, I'll probably do a couple of ordinance changes to the recycling program, just a little bit, so that we're more equal to the South Kingstown ordinance, so that it'll just be so much easier. So I think it'll be really good as we move on. For Public Works facility, we got that new position last year, which seems to be working out really well. There's the increase is just for the salary stuff, nothing special, no equipment or anything like that. So the next one after that would be Public Works Highway. You see a 10% increase for full-time wages. That's to finally fill a position for a laborer that was negotiated years ago, and we really need it now because we are getting a lot more things done. We're getting a lot more requests to do things, and it's just going to help us to be more responsive to the general public, and also it's going to help us with our programs that our general maintenance programs, mowing, road maintenance, things like that. It'll help us stay efficient. That's really the only change on that one, except for if near the bottom, you'll see line item 1730 50414, and the next one of that 50502. The electric for the street lights, we budgeted 70,000. We're only at the 2023 actual is 16,000. 2024 we're at 2,000. Now that we finished that changeover, we're starting to see the savings. So we were able to knock quite a bit off of that line item, and we're only asking for 20,000. So we were able to knock that down. And the next line, the streetlight repair, we had 0 in there, but we've spent so far 7,000, and we just put a PO in today for another 4,000 worth of work because because they are ours now, we have to maintain them. So we're anticipating about 25,000 a year should be good, because mostly what my complaints are right now are for new installs, and there's a couple that are like broken and not working. So it's not like these LED lights are failing, so it's really good. So it's a good program, and we're gonna see a lot of savings on that. So it should be pretty good for us. Snow removal, my overtime budget was a lot less because of the snow, but we need to keep that number in there because you never know. And the equipment is just, it's minor stuff to get us going. The next line, the next page is for Public Works vehicle. That's fleet maintenance. The same thing, the temporary wages wasn't big. That's why you see a 150% increase, but it was only 12,000. We're upping it to 18, and that's just to cover the part-time wages scale that you guys have approved for us. As far as fleet maintenance, the biggest line that I always stress over is the vehicle repair. It's the third one from the bottom, 50504. We got 300 in there. You see, last year we were at 296. So there's another number. It says our actual right now is 236, but I don't think that covers the payback we get from the enterprise accounts for doing their work. That's the school buses, water, wastewater, and beach. So you don't really see that number where we get that money back, because that goes right in the general fund, right? Yeah, so we're not really that close. We have a little bit more to spare on that. The other stuff, equipment replacement, that's, part of that is for our road grader, to have it sandblasted and paid in. It's the 1974 John Deere. But we have less gravel roads now, so we have no intentions of replacing this machine. It works good, it's old, but we want to keep it online, so that's why that number's a little higher than last year. And so then we go on to capital. DPW 1, it says Avis Street, but it's also, I forgot to put in there, it's Avis Street in the DPW building for security upgrades and heating upgrades. That's a minor cost. And the comfort station renovations, we refurbished the men's room. The only thing we have left is to do the floor, and we have to refurbish the ladies' room to match the men's room. Once both sides are done, we'll then do the floors like Parks and Rec has done in their public bathrooms, and like we did in our highway garage. So it's a quality floor. So you'll see that eventually up on agenda for approval. And so that covers DPW 1. DPW 2 is the continuation of the storm drain system. We used to have storm drains for Eastwood Look and then storm drains separately. So what we did was we merged them, and we're just doing 100,000 a year. That only gets you about probably 1,500, not even 1,500 feet. It's not very much. It's I just did the council approval for George Sherman that you guys approved for 95,000. That's 1,050 feet. That's just their labor, and then the pipe is about 14,000. So that doesn't get you far, but at least we're chipping away at it, and eventually we'll get caught up and get rid of that metal pipe that's rotting throughout town. It's not everywhere, so it's a continued chip away at this project, and we'll get caught up with it eventually.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Do you know how much of that pipe you have to get rid of, you know?
So there's 3 more roads in Eastwood Look South to do, and then we still haven't done Eastwood Look North.
Ah.
I mean,
Is it
vice
just all in
versa.
Eastwood Look?
Look North, we have 3 more roads. We have to do Eastwood Look South.
Yeah.
And then there's areas behind the Spain restaurant that have metal corrugated pipe that has to be done. And we're working on Envine Estates project. That was a big project. Same deal. It was all that
Yeah.
rotted pipe. As we go and find it, we make a list. So it's an ongoing thing, but
Okay.
I'm confident, like the roads that we've redone, we know we don't have
They're
to go
good.
back, that we've done the road reconstruction on. That's why we had the push for Envine Estates, because they're next to get worked on soon, once we're able to.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So the next one is the capital pavement management account. We signed an agreement with the state of Rhode Island for the Municipal Road and Bridge Program grant. So $600,000 this year, and then we're hoping for $700 next year to cover it. We might be able to save some money on this as the numbers come in and we get the POs, because we did estimate it a little high just to cover us. But if our goal is to spend that 1.5 million, it's $1 million on us, it's 500 and change on the state that they'll reimburse us. It's a two-thirds put up that we have to do and a 1/3. So if we could spend that money, we're gonna do it and just make our roads better. So that one's pretty standard. The next item is DPW number 4. We had a brush head outfit for the excavator. We decided we were going to push that off for next year, so that this year I have 0 equipment that we're asking for. And then you have, if you look in the narrative, a hook lift chipper box is about 10 grand we're looking for, in the next couple of years. And then after that, I want to start split funding for a new sweeper, because that one's a 2013. So I want to start getting ready. So instead of having a big shock of 350,000, when I split it over 2 years, and that one may have a grant available when it comes time, where the state might be able to do it. We might luck out. Last time we were able to do a 50-50. So that would be good. The next one, DPW number 5, we're asking for 0 trucks and 0 equipment vehicles this year. But moving forward, we're going to have to start planning to replace some of these other vehicles that are, they're approaching 15 years old and getting up there. So it's only a matter of time with our Narragansett Salt Air that gets to it. And then we're also going to be looking at, unfortunately, a bigger truck. They cost more. So that we're looking at trying to get those funded too. But this year we tried to be as lean as possible. And that's about it for my capital. And then you have the numbers for the road bond fund. That's it. Do you have any questions?
Any questions from the council? Seeing none, we'll move on to the road bond. Thank you so much. Thanks.
So just briefly, the road bond fund. So we have $2.6 million left on the 2012 bond authorization. That was the 17 million. So we're going to bond right now for 4.5 million. Hopefully the closing will go June 20th this year. So it'll be 2.6 from the old bond, and then that will be completed. And then the 1.76899 adding 1.9 will be out of the new bond that was just authorized in 2022, and that's going to cover Envine Estates, that storm drain. It's going to cover the front building facade and some next few roads, 3B2 roads.
Probably 3B-3. We're getting ready to go. 3B-3. I have permitted and ready to go, designs, everything. We're going to go out, we were going to hold off going out to bid because we weren't sure if we had the money, but we found that we do have some more money to do some of that road reconstruction work. So as soon as Beta gets back to me with the updated bid contract, we're going to go out to bid. And then we hope to get some roads done this summer and fall. Most of them are in Great Island. That's 3B-3. And then 3B-5 is almost ready to go to CRMC for final permitting. So those will be ready to go if money becomes available. I don't know if we'll make it that far, though.
How many miles of road will that do, Steve?
I could get you the numbers for that,
Okay.
but I do have them in my office. But if, ballpark, it's $1 million a mile. If you want to, like, figure that out, it's like $1 million a mile for a full-depth reconstruction, soup to nuts.
So that 4.5 that we'll be signing soon, like I said, covers Envine Estate, which is pretty much already done, so it'll just be a reimbursement to the general fund. Those roads, continuation of the roads and the facade. And then the next year is really going to be more focus on the crack fill, and because we have that grant and we have to get that stuff done, that's ARPA money. So we have to have that work all done by, I think they require October 2026.
Right.
So by the time we go to another bond, it'll be a year or so before we do any more roads, apparently.
Right, so that grant that we got through the state is for crack sealing and stone and fog seal. It's different than what we've done before, and I think residents will be a lot happier with it. It's a lot smoother, a black finish, and so you won't have hopefully any other complaints that we got before. So we're trying something new too, and it's fairly cost effective. So it'll be good to see how that works out.
That's it. Any questions?
Yeah, on the need to repair, you know, the ones that didn't get it from this last one, how many streets are there about? Any idea? You know, the ones that are really in rough shape and didn't get done last time, the next round, I know this won't happen till next year, right?
So I have the sheet. I'm not sure if you guys all have it. I know I gave it to Christine. It's got all the road bond, all the road phases
Yeah.
based on Beta's diagnosis of the roads. They did a road evaluation. And
Right.
so I took all the roads in that category that have to get reconstructed based on their scores, starting with the ones that got the lowest score first, and broke it up into their neighborhoods so that they're not bouncing all over town. So we got phase three, we have to finish 3B3 and 3B5. And then I broke down phase 4 and phase 5, and each one of those have 4 or 5 sections. I could get you that, I could email that list to the council or to Jim, and he can forward it to you guys if you want to see the roads on the list. This way, it takes all the politics out of it. When people come to you,
Right.
I need my road done, they're all done based on a score. So there's no politics involved. You say, here it is. And I could produce the list with the scores based on an independent engineer. So it makes it easier for you guys and for me, and it's just the way it is. So I like the program.
Yeah,
But
that's great.
if you like, I'll send that stuff to Jim, and he can
Yeah,
forward it to you guys.
we'd
Thank you.
appreciate that, thank you.
Can I ask one question,
Yes,
just out of personal curiosity? Woodruff Avenue,
yes.
is anything ever going to be done to repair the east side?
So the east side of Woodruff Avenue, I was
I'm
getting,
sorry, the south side, I mean. Yeah, south side.
well, it would be the east side.
Oh, is it? Okay.
From Route 1. So I was getting ready to do a mill and overlay on that road. And as I began the process, we discovered that the state owns from the off-ramp, if you're heading southbound on Route 1, and you take that off-ramp for Woodruff Avenue, from that off-ramp to the traffic light at Point Judith Road belongs to the state.
Yeah,
So I did some research. I contacted the state. I checked our ordinances. Back in the 70s, when they took over that property, when they were doing the Route 1, that part of Route 1 to put the ramps in. And there's no agreement on record for the state or the town
great.
that specifies that it's the town's responsibility. So I can't justify at this point spending taxpayer dollars to redo a road that's not ours. Now, in the meantime, they have new leadership at the Bellevue Garage, the Rydot Garage over in North Kingstown. So we've been working together, both of us, maintaining that road as far as, they just cleaned the drains, but we did some pothole patching. I'm gonna line stripe the roads. Until I could get an answer from Rydot, I need to find out who to talk to. I know it's not Alvidi, I know it's like one of the engineers or somebody up there, but we need to get a determination for them to be able to take their road back over. Or come to the town with some agreement and give us some funding for us to maintain it.
Okay.
for them, because there's nothing on file on either side.
So what about, because all these sort of state-town roads are, there's issues on Ocean Road down by Scarborough, where there was a whole lot of, I don't know what was done, but some work was done, and then the road is, was patched back up, but it's really in poor shape. And I just happened to be down Point Judith Road at the Sandhill Cove Light,
Yeah,
and that's like all weirdly patched.
that's all state, yeah, there's the
Yeah,
state
okay,
guys.
so I thought it was, but I just wanted to be sure, but they're really kind of crappily done.
Right, so the most that, I don't know what we could do, Jim, maybe we could send a letter to the state
Yeah.
and ask them to push it up on their list, but we're still in negotiations with them over
Okay.
at South Pier Road, so I don't know how far we'd really get.
Right, right, okay, well, just, those are some things that are out there that I think
Yeah.
are, you know, they get a ton of traffic.
Now, if you're
and-
getting a lot of complaints about those state roads,
I'm just complaining for myself at the
yeah,
moment.
but that's fine, but like you were talking about before, you had talked about the sidewalks.
Yeah,
And we were able to get
Do
the
some work
sidewalk,
there,
we were
yeah.
able to get some work done there. If you got stuff on the roads, let me know, and I'll reach
Okay.
out to the state and say, hey, the town has this issue, can you guys come do something with it?
well, those are, I mean, those three spots are highly trafficked, and especially highly trafficked in the summer. So, you know, to me, they should have some sort of high-level priority, because it's, I mean, it's not going to, you know, having a lot of traffic on those roads isn't going to help the condition of them.
Right, if
So,
they're only gonna get beat up, so.
Yeah,
If you want to send Jim a list of
Okay.
those areas,
Okay.
I'll forward those to the state with a letter asking if they could give those some extra attention.
I'm sure anybody, and there are a few of us who live, you know, south of Woodruff, knows how horrible it is to go
Yeah, there's
across
certain
there 4 or
areas,
5
even,
times a
even in
day.
the north end, they got areas that are like
Yeah,
that too, so.
it's pretty awful.
Anywhere that you think that they need attention, you could always shoot it through Jim, and we'll see what we can get them to do.
It may be that area at, by Black Point, between there and Scarborough. I think
Yeah.
they're putting a new main line in,
Right,
and that, I'm assuming that will get
that will.
redone
It'll get
because,
repaved.
That will, so that whole section, that's a water main replacement, right?
right,
Yeah.
So part of
I thought
that,
they
the state ordinance for road cuts is they give that a period of time to settle, then they have to pay
Right.
curb to curb. And so I'm gonna be working with Sarah on getting our town ordinance to match that. Right now, our road cut ordinance is it's only 2 feet wide, and it's good for, you know, a little while. But the state law says that the towns could adopt that same policy. So we'll be working, I was working on it with Janet a little bit before she went out. So when Sarah gets time, we'll work on it at some point, because that'll have to go to council for approval.
Great. Thank you,
Heads up.
Steve, a lot. Yeah, thank you, though, appreciate it.
Okay, any other questions?
Thank you. Any other questions from the council? Seeing none, thank you very much. Thanks for all your work. Right.
Yes. Okay, moving on to Galilee Landing. That is pretty much level funded. Those revenues come in May and June, so we don't have the revenue yet for this year. But in 2023, we received $135,000, a little bit over that. And they have a decent fund balance right now. So we kept the revenue still at $105,000 just to give it one more year to see what we really get coming in. And the only thing that really anybody touches is the other improvements, that's the flowers. You were asking about the money? Somebody was, right? It usually comes out of that line. Any other questions?
Any other questions?
All right, then Sunset Farms, really nothing goes on in this fund. There's no revenue, a little bit of interest. It just pays for the property, insurance, and water services. Last year, we transferred $10,000 into it. Again, there's really no revenue generating, so we just have to fund it for property and water. Right now, there's $10,455,000 of fund balance. Okay, now we get into some fun stuff. Oh, okay. That's the finance department. So as you can see, On the next 4 pages, there are slight increases, basically due to salary and fringe benefits, and mostly printing needs, because we're going to switch softwares, and we have to find a printer vendor and a mailing vendor that takes care of that, because the new company does not do that. And the only other note really is that depending on the tax structure, whether they need a FTE and tax assessors. So the increase in the total finance budget is only 4.9%. Like I said, primarily due to compensation and printing and binding. Any questions?
Can you go back to that slide?
Oh,
Sorry.
yeah, it's just a little budget. That went up, all 4 of them went up 4.9% from last year.
Thanks.
Any questions? No? Oh,
I'm good.
okay.
Yeah.
All right, next is the general transfers and miscellaneous. As you can see, the biggest transfer is the school department, and they're at a 2.74% increase over last year. Debt service went up a little bit because of the 4.5% bond, and OPEB is the next. Capital up 5%, library 3%, and the rest is really not much at all. Just want to know if you have any questions on that. Take a minute, absorb it.
Which sheet is that in that we're looking at? Is it in the sheet?
It's general transfers, it says page 46.
Okay, way up there.
Just for the
Yeah.
record, I don't like,
Oh, you skipped some.
I don't
yeah.
like the pagination that Munis gives you.
Because when I print it out, it doesn't come out in this order.
No, it doesn't, I know, I was like, I'm like, oh my,
I have to cut and
you
paste.
you know how I feel about a page number, so.
Yes, I
You
do.
can't see it.
All right,
27, 961, 788,
okay. So that's what I just told you. The towers, also, we have to remember, yet from yesterday, the towers are requesting 50,000 versus the 25,000, which is budgeted. They historically have gotten 50,000 in the past. I looked at that today. They waived their fee their transfer for a few years too. So I just wanted to put that up there. Again, the library went up a little bit, 16,000. And then on the next page, 48, the contingency I increased to $600,000. It's still under 1% of the total budget. But why I did this was the potential retirements that could be coming. There's many people who are reaching their 30 years and 25 plus. There's a lot of ARPA money still out there, so if we need to have a match, we could keep that in the background to provide a match for ARPA funds and potential legal judgments and arbitration. So again, if we don't spend it, it goes right back in the budget. So, but we usually use 300,000. I use a little bit of it here and there if we need it, but we tend to always balance out pretty evenly. People stop spending or cut their spending if they start going over a lot. Any questions on that? That was like over 3 pages. Before we move on to that, I can hit Pear Market Liquor a little bit. The fund balance as of 6/30/23 was $148,384 because we had transferred $200,000 in 2024, and that was because we still own the building, so we had to pay those fees of electricity, heating, water, sewage treatment, et cetera. And the CAM fees, those are $2,585 a month. So that budget is still in there. I don't have the fees, anything in the 2025 budget for electricity and such. Well, some electricity, but they pay us for that, the Pier Market liquor. But the general insurance, heating, fuel, and all that, because the building should be transferred over to the library by then. Any questions?
I have a question. The
Yeah.
CAM fee for the liquor store, is it separate from the whole
It's the whole
library
area.
also? Is that the whole,
That's everything.
that's all the whole library area in that? So 2,800 a month, which.
I think the town manager can speak to that a little bit better, too.
With the library, the handover, I guess you'd call it, of the library, once everything's finalized, we did negotiate with Mr. Holberg and requested that perhaps that he could lower the CAM fees. We weren't successful at that. However, he did offer to the town to freeze the CAM fees as they are now for a period of 3 years. When the final agreement is made with the final handover to the library is done, when everything's finished, that's one of the items that we haven't done the breakdown yet on what the CAM fees will be, and that will be presented to the council at the next probably public hearing, but I'll let everyone know ahead of time via email on one of the weeklies once we get everything negotiated and in writing.
So it's about a little over $30,000 a year for the CAM fees?
Yes.
2,800, yeah. And do we, like, if it comes to plowing, is there any way we can take over that portion of it and get the CAM fees reduced, or do we not even, like, if our trucks are going there to plow anyway, how does that, and they should be maintaining it, how does that work?
There was a discussion with Mr. Holberg about that, and the way that it has been proposed, we wouldn't be able to handle it for the original intent was they would let us do it, but they wanted us to do the whole facility. We can't do that legally. We can't be plowing, striping, trash removal for other businesses. And there wasn't much of an interest to have us just do it on the 2 parcels that we have. That was discussed.
Oh, yeah, I'm not saying do the whole
Oh,
thing,
no, no.
because, well, that doesn't make sense, just the area that
Yeah, that was-
is town-owned, yeah, that's what it would be. I
That
mean,
was discussed.
That's
and-
probably what he wants you to do everything, and I get that, but I
Yeah,
mean,
that's what we
that's
had-
out of the question.
Yeah, we had
I don't
talked to
see
him about
that.
it. We had a couple of meetings on it, and we had talked to him about perhaps we'd be willing, we could be willing to do that if the fees were waived, but not for just that one area that they're not interested in that.
That's just per the contract of how it was purchased way back when. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, well, at least
We
we
did
know what the
try.
number is, yeah. No, that's all right,
At least we got them
Appreciate it.
frozen for 3 years for now.
right. Thanks, Jim.
Okay, on to general revenues. You can see from the slide that taxes and the payments in lieu of taxes are most of our revenue. We get a little bit of state aid at 5%, and we use fund balance quite a bit. Usually it covers our capital and sometimes some of our debt service, and fines and fees, and the rest is minimal. The only really big change, 2 big changes, is we're really doing well with interest revenue. So it was budgeted at $200,000, and this year in 2024, we've already got 1.5 million, but that's not all just for the general fund. We have to split that over the enterprise funds like the beach, water, wastewater, et cetera. And if the library still had money, they would get some of that. It all gets put here, and then we disperse it later. But we're still looking at quite an increase. And that's what's helped us, even in 2023, that helped us with revenue a lot. So in 2024, we got it up to 700,000 for now. We'll see how that goes. It's pretty hard with the market, but we're doing very well with that. And the only other change is with the tangible taxes. We had to go to the 50,000, and the state is supposed to reimburse us for the difference between our 35 and the 50,000. So that now becomes state aid, and it's down the bottom at 103,100 estimated they're still not sure what they're doing with that yet, so. And the total budget, $71,355.
So,
So here's my wonderful slide that I just love, and I know you hate. But it's just my 2% and 4%. So the top is the 2% levy and the fiscal impact it causes on the town out through 2028. I have a valuation up there of 20%. I don't know if that's going to happen, but the way things are going, I'm a little worried to put less, just to be on the lookout for that. And that brings the rate down to $5.87. Potential, I don't want to say it's true, it's potential. And then down the bottom is your 4% levy increase. And it, over the years, it increases us $1.1 million in extra revenue. Any questions? Want to look at it a little more? At 3%, you'd be right in the middle. So if we went to 3%, the tax rate would probably be about $6.78. And the loss would be probably $1 million plus. Loss in revenue because you reduce, in 2025.
Right.
So it's somewhere in the middle. There it's estimated. Okay. Terrible slide, I know, but this is our debt service schedule. God. There's no way to get it any better. I know there was a request for it a couple of years ago, I think. So as of 6/30/2024, we have $29,893,308 in outstanding debt. By the end of 2025, we'll have that decrease a little bit to little over 27 million as we go on, paying off more principal and et cetera. Here's a few of our ratios. These are the ones the state watch mostly. General fund debt service to operating budget. The max, they like to see it below 7%. So we're starting to creep up at 5.22%. And then the outstanding principal debt to assessed valuation. They like 2.5. We're okay over there at 0.31. Then general fund debt service to the max levy, 8%. So we're starting to creep up on that a little bit at 6.15. And the outstanding governmental debt per capita, they like to see it below 2,500, and we're at $1,826.25. So a couple of them are starting to creep up, but the other ones aren't bad at all.
Thanks.
yeah, so out of a $71 million budget, we have $20 million and 29 in total debt. Is that what you said? Okay, and then those are due at certain
Yes, over the
times, right?
next
20 years.
20-plus
Yeah,
years.
what is the average ratio of, I mean, I don't know if you know what some of the other towns are. Is that's, I mean, it's a little under half, I know, but,
They're all different. There is a debt affordability study that the state puts out every year. I can forward that if you'd like.
yeah, I mean, I just
I
want
mean,
to
I
know
don't
how
know
that,
the average,
how it
everybody's
compares. Like,
different,
is
you
it-
know?
Yeah,
That's why they have the maximum values they like to see, so if other people are within that range, they're
yeah,
usually
maybe we
okay.
could get, if you could get something like for the last 5 years, what it was then and now.
On our.
Just our debt
for
based
us
on the
debt,
total
for our
budget, yeah,
debt,
that's
sure.
all. Without seeing like the yearly one. I know it probably moving around with the bonds that go out. 5 years, I guess, right, just so we know where we were 5 years ago and where we are now.
Sure.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anything else? Okay, now we get into the fun stuff, town pension and OPEB. I'm really not going to pay attention to the budgets so much. So the town pension, As of 7/1/23, the last evaluation, we're 71.4% funded, yay. That's excellent. The Chapter 1666, which is the police pension, which is closed. There's 9 people left in that. It's 83.6% funded. And our OPEB, it's really doing well at 36.9%. Over 30, it was 30% last year. So it's really, we're really doing well with that. These are the actuarial determined contributions. I don't know if you remember last year, I did say that we're going to go up over the next few years, but then it kind of levels out in 32. I think it really gets close to 100%. So this year, we have an average of 48.8% of salary. So that's what the town puts into the pension fund. For police, it's 61.2% of salaries for the police salaries. So we're well over 50 on that one. Fire, we're at 50, and the library's 41.4. Okay, and as far as OPEB, last year the ADC was 3.6 million, and last year, they're always 2 years behind, was 3.391, so it's a decrease of 6.6% in the ADC. Any questions on that one? We continue to fund it at 100%, so that's good. You know, that's always good, and we're going to be going through our Standards and Poor rating soon, so they like to see that as well. I think, oh, there we go. Some considerations, things to remember over the last 3 nights. So we have some additional FTEs in the budget. That's the GIS position, zoning enforcement position, 8 safer firefighters for 5 months, and 2 FTEs in rental registration. Community development, they wanted the $52,500 for the match for the brick grant that was postponed. So I have that in there. It all depends on what comes up with the affordable housing bond issuance. That's going to need to be considered because there's nothing in there for going to bond next year. And capital improvements, they're at 2.06 million right now. The transfers to school departments, 28.7 million. Library increase, the tower increase, we already talked about. Also to consider is the 8 firefighters for 2026 would be an additional 610,000 estimated. And the potential for tax structure changes, additional tax assessor, FTE not budgeted. The capital improvement plan, just so you know, the town manager reductions of $2.3 million, and there's a summary. You can see that in your packet. The appropriations, we went over those the first night. They went up just a little bit. But overall, the big ones were the Narragansett Chamber of Commerce, I think was the biggest ask. Yes, and everybody else was about average. Any questions?
Could you please send the slides to Chris's cheat sheet there of the last 3 nights, the considerations? I would love a copy of that. Her considerations for the budget, the last,
Absolutely.
It's like
We'll
a
send you
cheat-
we can send you the whole PowerPoint.
Yeah, that'd be
Perfect.
good.
Okay. Trying to get back to the beginning, but I'm not being successful. Any questions on anything at all? All right. I guess that's it. Thank you.
Great
Thank you
job.
very much.
Good job, thank you.
All right, that was a lot. I went through it pretty quickly, so thank you. Okay, so next on the agenda, usually, it's been discussions about the budget over the past 3 days. And I think what normally is requested is suggested action, any suggestions for any changes or recommendations to the budget. Correct. You need some guidance. So ask my fellow council members, any feedback, recommendations, changes.
Just to be aware that we're still in the process of considering some organizational changes, and we may propose some additional changes to the budget at the next meeting, at May
6th?
May 6th, for maybe maybe an additional position,
Okay.
maybe a few minor changes, and some restructuring, which will come to the council in a different, like in the normal town council agenda. But we may make some recommended changes, but would like to certainly hear any recommendations that the council has, obviously. Thank you.
Yeah. Any recommendations, any,
I would say that if it's, I mean, it's with the tax rates going up, there's a lot of uncertainty out there as far as, people thinking the taxes are going to go higher. What's going to happen with the two-tier tax, if something happens with that. So I would just, ask Jim if he could just go back to some of the departments and just say, if it's not really that necessary, if it can be reduced a little bit, that would be appropriate. If you can, just kind of take a relook at it. Because kind of difficult, I mean, you got your manager's budget, but you really don't have anything to go by in between, and we know what a lot of the increases were due to a lot of the, the benefits and all, and that's kind of, it's contractual, so it's difficult, so there's not a whole lot left, but, just to take another closer look at some of the things that might not be as necessary as needed to, run the town properly.
Certainly.
Thank you.
Yeah, the healthcare and the dental did go down
Yeah.
from what's budgeted, so that will change it as well. But there's some going in, some coming out, so we'll readjust and come back on May 6th.
any other council members, final comments? No. Well, anytime we do a budget, everyone's going to ask to cut some more. So I know it's a tight budget. So of course, we always want to have, you don't want expenses to exceed revenues. I know we dip into the fund to kind of put some of that in there to make it whole, and just kind of making sure that that's kind of assessed and looked at. Other than that, so we'll just wait to hear about those changes, those personnel changes, and kind of take that into consideration.
Sure, and if any of them do, if we do complete the study of a few of the ones that we're looking at, if we complete them ahead of time, we'll most certainly forward them to the entire council so that you will understand the reasoning behind it and the impact it will have on the budget.
Yeah. Again, we are at the maximum tax levy, so we kind of need to be there based on the numbers. So. All right, thank you. Seeing no questions, any final comments? Mr. Tierney?
Well, thank you for the council for hearing us out, and I'd like to thank the staff, the senior management team that worked together with us all on putting these budgets together and collaborating on making priority decisions on their workload and their staff and the equipment and the training that they need. They did put a lot of thought into it, and I always ask them to come to the table with the good attitude, go for the gusto, but let's prioritize and see what's most important to provide the essential services to the town in an efficient way. And they've done just that, and they continue to do it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. We have a great staff. Thank you. Okay, so that, with no more questions or comments, that will adjourn our work session. Thank you, everyone, for participating, and